all this time, breaking down the stories every view will unwind. From left to right we'll see the light. It's balance we're chasing, no fighters fight. Curtis Sylvie talking straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Sylvie's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Sylvie keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Sylvie. The combos you need. The combos you need. Insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby. The convo's unique. Curtis Selby talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby. The combos unique. The combos unique. The combos unique.
I have delivered. Ha ha! Now we shall begin our quest. Soon, young Highlander, soon you shall ride many a weary mile, 12 short, sweet months, and you shall find the Grail. If you were a dustpan, Gorilla censored thoughts, and some dumbass was lazy to put it back on the broom, where would I be? I would be in the dark cavern of Georg, underneath the dark eaves of And indeed, you are correct, Gorillas. The person that designed and made and sent this song is not only a brilliant genius, he is a knight of the Table Round. We shall dub thee Gorillas of the Holy Order of the Bard. And yes, I'll have to be reminded because I will forget. The chronic fatigue is real. So, you have to say stab. Nah. All right, so I've probably scared away everybody who's new. Hey, meow, meow, Moira Kitty. Welcome. I have two great creators here. I watched about a half hour or 45 minutes of U2's podcast on the Israeli situation. I thought it was very fun and entertaining. Sadly, reference back to the chronic fatigue, I fell asleep. Not because it wasn't interesting, but just because I was that exhausted. But at least the part that I saw was wonderful. The rest of it may have just been the two of you reading the phone book, but I assume that there were other really cool and entertaining things. So I see there's 4 people here. So whoever the third and fourth person is, fifth and sixth people are, Please check out that stream of gorillas and Moiras. It's definitely interesting. I was learning a lot, and then I fell asleep. I hate this chronic fatigue crap. Anyway, John Ponterero, the other bard, I dub thee Sir John Ponterero, also the older of the bard. Huzzah, 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 huzzah! Isn't it true the Grail caused the LA wildfires in Bass and Newscomb? They're all about that bass, no Newscomb. They're all about that bass, no Newscomb. They're all about that bass. Okay, I'll stop. They're being punished for their DII agenda. I don't know that. I would have to actually speak to the Grail, and sadly, I can never seem to find it. It's always just over the next hill. We have a new person here, Seraphim, who is clapping wildly, and I welcome you. I hope that this ends up being worth your time. I'm going to try to make it entertaining, but also informative, and hopefully by the end, hopefully you will see something of what I think is deep meaning. If it ends up falling flat for you, my apologies, but that is my hope. Seraphim is on the mobile device listening while they do the chores, which frankly, that's probably what I ought to be doing, but silly me. Everyone's saying hello, wonderful, wonderful. I am going to dive into the topic, you wonderful, wonderful people. Oh my gosh, I should have guessed. It's not a new person for you to argue with, gorillas. But it is an ethereal creature who has entered the chat and has smitten my heart with a holy and chaste love, the courtly love for which I shall devote my life to her, even though I get nothing in return. All that nightly crap. It's Lady V Elements. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah! Man, I always wished I was part of the King Arthur's court. Even if I didn't get to be King Arthur, even if I had to be the stable boy, as long as some of the ladies had their way with me, I'd be all right. So, Gorilla Sensor Thought found the Grail! He needs it to do the dishes! Holy cow, this stream was so serendipitous. Healthy debates welcome. I don't know that we're going to have any debates on this one. There's two reasons. One, I just kind of threw it out, and this is what people voted for. That's the first reason I'm doing it. The second reason is I do kind of feel like taking a break from politics. I know the algorithm will probably hammer me for it, and hell, maybe the audience will, but I want one podcast where I'm not talking about Trump, I'm not talking about Elon, I'm not talking about Biden. I'm talking about the Grail, talking about things that, in my view anyway, supersede politics. Seraphim says I'd make a great breeding night. I would love for somebody to try. But anyway, yes, the Queen's child looks so much like that stable boy. I don't understand it. All right, let's gorillas add anything. I don't know anything about the Holy Grail, but I'll start an argument anyway, like an expert. All right, I'm going to dive in. I may be a little bit boring for a bit because I'm going to start out by sharing what Britannica has to say about it. The Holy Grail, for those of you who don't know, I think most of you at least have some ideas about it. Seraphim has some knowledge of it, I know. All the village children look like Curtis. Must be the minerals in the water. Indeed, yes. And all the ladies have smiles on their faces. Man, what a fantasy. Sadly, in real life, all of the children look like the mayor. Anyway, the Holy Grail is an object sought by the Knights of Arthurian legend as part of a quest that particularly from the 13th century onward, had Christian meaning. So I will talk a little bit about the pagan thoughts and origins of the Grail, but I'll go ahead and start with where most people start, which is the Arthurian legends. Lions in the street and roaming, dogs in heat, rabid foaming, a beast caged in the heart of the city. I should know that, but I don't. JDM. Happy women make the world keep turning and not burning. You have a point. And I wish I could make even just one happy. I know 1 out of every 200 Asians looks like Genghis Khan. I have heard that. It's good to be Genghis Khan. Khan! Okay, sorry. I had to. The term Grail evidently denoted a wide-mouthed or shallow vessel, though its precise etymology remains uncertain. The legend of the Grail possibly was inspired by Greek, Roman, and Celtic mythologies, which abound in horns of plenty, magic, life-restoring cauldrons, and the like. The first extant text to give such a vessel Christian significance as a mysterious holy object was Christian de Troyes' late 12th century unfinished romance, Perceval. And I don't really know French, so I'm going to butcher this, but Le Comte de Grail, which introduces the guileless rustic knight Perceval, whose dominant trait is innocence and who quests for the Grail. I read a modern English translation of that back in my 20s, and then I reread it again a handful of years ago, and I just thought it was a cool adventure tale when I was in my 20s, but man, now I see there's so much symbolism, there's so much lurking under the surface. Nothing really is quite what it seems. Genghis Khan knew what he was doing. Heck yeah, it's good to be Genghis Khan. It had many names pre-Christianity. Right on. Please feel free to share what thou knowest. And footnote, I'm still using Stream Elements, but I have taken the moderation thing to the most minimal setting. It's essentially turned off. So hopefully nobody gets censored that YouTube is not trying to censor. And also I did set up my bank account, but I don't know how to actually tell you guys how to donate. So I'm slowly creeping toward, if not monetization, at least the possibility of getting a buck or two here or there. Seraphim sees something new every time I tap into this subject. Well, yes, I do as well, and I would love to tap into all kinds of subjects. But anyway, I need to just be a good boy this time. In the Perceval poem, the religious is combined with the fantastic. In the 13th century, Robert de Baron's verse trilogy, Joseph, again, I'm going to butcher this, but it's basically Joseph of Arimathea, Merlin and Percival, sometimes called together, the Histoire du Graal. If I have an illegitimate child, I think that I'll name them Histoire du Graal. Extended the Christian significance of the legend, while Wolfram von Eschenbach, who was, in fact, part of the law firm Wolfram and Hart, gave it profound and mystical expression in his epic Parzival. In Wolfram's account, the Holy Grail became a precious stone fallen from heaven. Gorilla Sensor Thoughts, I'll show you Saturday. That is great. I'm off Saturday. And I'm also going to be doing my Saturday morning cartoons. I intend to be doing a double feature, which will be Akira and a replay of The Last Unicorn. Because some people who really wanted to see it ended up showing up late to the last one. So, but thank you very much, gorillas of the order of the Bard. 13th century German romance. The Kron, Kopla, made Gawain the Grail hero. The Guest del Saint Graal, which forms part of the Vulgate cycle, introduced a new hero, Galahad. Sir Thomas Malory's Le Mort d'Arthur, which is the only one of these that I've read, completed about 1470 and printed in 1485, transmitted the essence of the Quest de Saint Graal to English-speaking readers, and helped it to exert the widest influence on the legend of the Holy Grail. Robert de Boron's poem recounted the Holy Grail's early history, linking it with the cup used by Christ at the Last Supper, and afterward by Joseph of Arimathea to catch the blood flowing from Christ's wounds as he hung upon the cross. The Quest de la Saint Graal transformed the quest for the Holy Grail into a search for mystical union with God, and made the pure knight Galahad the Grail's ideal hero. You know, it's funny. You probably aren't getting this, but for some reason I read these words and I get a chill. I've always loved the Arthurian legends. And here is another great lady, Lady Mist. I guess I shall have to platonically love thee from afar as well, since we are doing Arthurian stuff today. But you are quite welcome, my fair lady. Only Galahad could look directly into the Grail and behold the divine mysteries that cannot be described by human tongue. The Quest del Saint Grail was influenced by the mystical teachings of Saint Bernard de Clairvaux. He was known to have the face of a saint, indeed, a Saint Bernard. Anyway, it was influenced by his teachings, the states of grace it describes corresponding to the stages by which Saint Bernard explained an individual's rise toward perfection in the mystical life. The work gained an added dimension by making Galahad the son of Lancelot, thus contrasting the story of chivalry inspired by human love, where Lancelot and Guinevere were the thing. Again, the whole courtly love thing, where you were supposed to love the lady platonically, and Lancelot failed miserably. And I'm sure it had nothing to do with Guinevere at all. Anyway, it was contrasting inspired human love with the love inspired by divine love. And basically, you just have Galahad. So make of that whatever you want. In the last branch of the Vulgate cycle, the final disasters of Arthur's kingdom were linked with the withdrawal of the Holy Grail, the symbol of grace, never to be seen again. Gorilla Censored Thoughts? Yeah, it's always the man's fault. We all know that. There's the favorite lady to argue with. Well, you two argue, and I shall instead just read about the Grail and whisper sweet nothings in the lady's ears and take the restraining order that I'm rewarded with. The legend of the Holy Grail came to form the culminating point of Arthurian romance. And it was to prove an enduring and fruitful theme across the arts, present in numerous works as disparate as Richard Wagner's opera Parsifal, James Russell Lowell's parable The Vision of Sir Launfal, Jay-Z's album Magna Carta Holy Grail, and of course, the film Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So I thought, since I've been reading all this scholarly crap, I would give you a short interlude, something a little more entertaining. My favorite film about the Grail, and possibly yours as well. Also, the film from which I derive most of my philosophy about politics. So, let's hear King Arthur's discourse on politics. I honestly think that entire scene can simply be summed up by that lady. Oh, there's some lovely filth over here. Is my computer hooked up directly to the modem? No, it is not. Should it be? Please let me know if it should be, because I'm not going to do it during this stream, but I can sure rectify that situation. And Big Al presents, welcome, welcome. I maybe finally have a stream that is more up your alley than the regular ones. He is also giving his very brilliant take on politics. Listen, strange women, lying and pawns, distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Indeed. Welcome, welcome. And if there is anyone lurking about who has not checked out Big Al Presents, please go see his channel and listen to his 10-word reviews. I wonder if you have a review on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. All right, let's hear some more about King Arthur. Oh, wait. And yes, my favorite line in the whole movie, I often have to bite my tongue because I just want to say it every day. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries. Would help boost the Wi-Fi. Not sure if it would fix the problem, but wouldn't hurt. So it is roboting, I take it. Please let me know, because honestly, if it is, I'll probably just play another minute or so, and then move on to the next thing. And yet still, I think I prefer this system of government to what we have today. Okay, so Gorillas is saying it's not roboting as bad as the other day, but it is a little. And Gorillas would try plugging it in. I won't do it during this stream, although I probably should, but I will definitely do so afterward. Help, help, I'm being repressed. Come see the violence inherent in the system. All right. I shall at least play up to that point. And that's how I envision most of the ladies in my chat, is having arms clad in pure shimmering samite. How far Britain has fallen. Can you imagine those people just sitting back while all these things that are going on in Britain go on today? Big Al, censored thoughts. Yes, indeed. All of you shall be repressed in my kingdom. Gorillas. Oh, and I'm sorry that I missed the stream with Larry. I, again, fell asleep last night. Reminds me, if anyone sees Finity the timey-wimey-limey in a chat anywhere, tell him the grandfather paradox is when you go back in time to bone your grandma so you can be born. It stems from last night's stream. And something very like it can also be read about in Robert Heinlein's Time Enough for Love, if you have the stomach to get through the entire book, which I did. And sadly, kind of liked it. So maybe that says something horrible about me. As I said before, there are Christian elements to the Grail, but the Grail itself actually predates Christianity by many hundreds, if not thousands of years. I'm not going to go extremely deeply into it, but I thought I would at least share one of the inspirations for the Grail, because it happens to have a certain place in my heart. Yes, Sashi, hail, the man from the future. He's keeping the Holy Grail locked away in his basement so us Western heathens won't be able to defile it. I am a slacking comrade. I have indeed taken my rubles, and instead I have gone to sleep. Oddly enough, I had no vodka yesterday, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe I should drink more. Captain Finity was on Mrs. Dadman's this morning. I chickened out. I'll be stronger next time. Right. Man, work's been kicking my tail lately. I didn't even sneak maybe 10 seconds to listen to anybody's streams this morning. So I'm going to share with you the magical Welsh cauldron. Didn't just inspire the Grail, but it also inspired Lloyd Alexander's The Black Cauldron, which is one of my favorite fantasy books. Disney made a movie out of it. I've watched it twice in my time. I watched it in my 20s and hated it because it had so little to do with the book. And then I watched it again in my 40s, and then I didn't hate it the second time. It still has nothing to do with the book, hardly, but it wasn't as bad as 20-something Curtis remembered it being. Here you see an image of Curtis Selby breaking free from the Black Cauldron and defying the gods. Don't you love my stash? The Pater de Dunne, or Cauldron of Rebirth, is a magical object from Welsh mythology. Makes an appearance in the Mabinogion, whose was one of my favorite books that my ex-girlfriend's dog ate. Not making it up. Gorilla Censor Thoughts trying to get an epic trolling campaign going. And hail Connie Cleary, faithful bird woman of YouTube. And I think everybody here knows her, but if you don't, please check out her channel and watch some beautiful videos of birds. And here we have one who some call Tim. I seek a grail. Hail Enigma Severus. We do seek the grail tonight. And who knows what we shall find at the end. Sashi just knows that you can't expect to wield supreme executive power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you. Gorilla Sense thought that stash is about as good as a certain 1930s German. Hey, I got to admit, I always have loved the guy's stash. That's about all I love about him. That, and he was good to his dog. John Pontorero doth give his mortal pledge that he shall help thee in thy quest. Gorilla's censored thoughts. Indeed, verily, an entire trolling campaign shall set forth. Dun, 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 dun. And Tim has been over the Knee River. It's a real river. Well, I believe it is a real river, but you know my response to that, don't you? Don't you? Me. And 1, 2, 5, 3, sir. So basically, if a corpse is placed in the Père de Danne, the corpse will be resurrected, but will not be able to speak. In the story, the cauldron is the gift to Matholwch, the King of Ireland, to appease him after his new wife, Branwen's half-brother, Efnisien, insults him during his and Branwen's wedding celebration. Efnisien was angry that he was not consulted about Branwen's marriage to the King of Ireland, so he cut off the ears, eyelids, lips, and tails of Matholwch's horses. Of course, Matholwch is furious that his horses have been mutilated. To make things fair, Branwen's brother Bran the Blessed, a giant and the king of Britain, replaces the horses, but this isn't enough for Matholwch, so Bran also gifts him the Pater de Dunne. Later on, after Matholwch and Branwen have returned to Ireland, Matholwch decides that, who is not, by the way, to be confused with John Wick, decides that even the gift of the Père de Danne is not enough to remedy Efnisien's insult. he takes out his anger on Branwen, banishing her to the kitchens to work as a maid. So proof that men are just pigs. And he made the right decision for Hugo Boss to do their uniforms. Right on. Get a room full of Monty Python fans, you can do the film by heart. Yeah, just about. Enigma Severus, your mom replaces horses. Doesn't sound kosher. But here we are, me sticking my foot in my mouth. Indeed, Enigma Severus, thy foot is indeed in thy mouth. I shall bid Sir Lancelot the Brave to take up thy quarrel with thee, since I am busy doing a podcast. Yeah. So, later on, after Mathelwick and Branwen have returned to Ireland, Mathelwick decides that even the gift is not enough. Branwen makes friends with a starling. And now all of a sudden I have visions of Brandon Lee running in my head. Yeah, I know, my mind just goes to weird places. She makes friends with a starling, trains it to fly home with a message for Bran the Blessed. In the message, she explains all that Mathelwick has done to her. As you can expect, Bran is not pleased. And he wages war on the Irish. And so the Irish, having been suffering for 1,000 years, basically got what they deserved. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries. Are you suggesting that coconuts migrate? Look, if we build this large wooden badger, none shall pass. There's a lot more to the story, bloodshed mostly. During the battles, Mathelwick uses the Cauldron of Rebirth to resurrect his fallen soldiers so they can continue fighting for Ireland. If Nisian realizes that what Mathelwick is doing, he knows they'll never defeat Mathelwick if the Irish king keeps it up. And so he jumps into the cauldron and destroys it from within, sacrificing his own life in the process. We don't want the Irish. Did she train a swallow to carry a coconut too? Yes, she did. Help, I'm being repressed. Comes to the violence inherent in the system. So I don't know if any of you have read or watched The Black Cauldron. It's a beautiful book. It's a decent movie. Definitely better than the stuff that Disney puts out now. But if you know the story, then you see the parallels. If you haven't, then, I'll try to give some of it without giving away the spoilers, because there actually is a really cool element to the story that I don't want to spoil if you ever do decide to read it. Even though it's a young adult book, it's still worth your time to read, even as an adult. But there's definitely parallels between the myth, the story, and the books and the movie. Lloyd Alexander himself said that the Chronicles of Prydain is inspired by Welsh mythology. I think it's safe to say his inspiration for the Black Cauldron would have been the Père Dédain's story. Anyway, this guy's inspired as well. He writes a big Bone Fairy book. Someday I'm going to write a book too, maybe. Long and the short of it is, the Black Cauldron was, the Prydain Chronicles were really inspirational to me as a child. It was probably just behind the Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia. And when I later became a D&D dungeon master, that's where I based my campaign, was in Prydain. And I had the Cauldron born, but they weren't nearly as effective in a D&D world as they were in the books, but it was still a lot of fun. So, some Irish are deleted, some Irish drink. What else is new? Now, at the point in the plan, we jump out of the giant rabbit. All right, Sashi's got to get ready for work. See you later. Oh, yes, the Black Cauldron is miles better than anything Disney has done in the last few years. Indeed, a dungeon taboo master? Yes. I'm not sure I understood that one. All right. So, anyway, the Père de Denny, it was a spiffy cauldron, and there's also lots of old myths, stories of the Celts about cauldrons, the god Curanin. There's just something magical and special about the cauldron to them. And now I'm going to give you another interlude from my other favorite King Arthur, a movie. I really don't want to cut this one in two, but I will because I know that I'll be dinged for copyright. I'm using this as fair use, and I'm doing it to entertain people. So there.
My brother, I shall be king.
This goes through my head
Gods, knights, squad.
I've got to pause it or I'll get dinged, but I just love this movie. I love this song. I still sometimes have idiotic images of me riding forth to battle with that song blazing in the background and dying gloriously for the love of the maiden who will probably run off with Charlie Sheen. He said he's already got one. It makes me want to ride to battle. Who's coming with me? Enigma Severus. Well, you are a dinger, Curtis. No, I don't know what I am. All right, so we have pagan influences, we have Christian influences. I could go on and on and on. The story has been one of the most central things in our culture outside of the Bible, maybe a handful of the Greco-Roman myths. But Arthur, the Holy Grail, it's a big freaking deal. It's one of the cornerstones of our culture. The whole yearning to strive for perfection, to find that spiritual element that's above and beyond all of us. I recently read a book. I almost thought about doing a review of it, but I was told it was controversial. It's called The Mists of Avalon, and it talks about the Arthurian legends from the women's point of view. And there were times when it got annoying, at least to a sexist man like myself, but there were also plenty of times when it was painful and deep and poignant. And one of the themes in that book was also one of the themes that I want to implement in my novel if I ever write it. And that is that painful passing of the pagan and how it was replaced by Christianity, and how on some level and to some people that was beautiful and good, and how to some people and on a certain level maybe it was not so great. The poet said that I'd rather be a pagan, blah 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 blah. Anyway, and now, how long is this? I'm going to read one more thing, partly because I think it shows the timeline. You go from the pagan, where it's this kind of dark and scary thing, and it's got promise, but it's also got fearfulness, and you don't know if these things are undead or alive. And then it passes to this beautiful romance and these Christian elements, like the best of the Christian blended with the best of the pagan. And it just becomes more and more romantic and more epic. And then you get to the modern times, and you get stuff like the Holy Grail, which is sort of mocking it, but mocking it with love. But my introduction to the Grail, believe it or not, were not Arthurian legends, because I didn't read the Le Morte d'Arthur until I want to say I was 17 or 18. So I read Arthurian stories, but I never actually read or even heard about the Grail until I was, I want to say 12 or 13, and I first read about it from a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. It's still one of the books I most highly recommend. It's funny, but it's also got some incredibly beautiful and painful moments itself. And if you haven't read it, do yourself a favor, read it, forgive its mockeries, because there's also at least a tiny hint of the love of the romance and the love of the epicness and the nobleness. Sadly, this chapter isn't going to have any of that. It's sheer comedy. But this is the tournament from the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. And yes, I'm doing all this to make you all yearn for the politics instead of Curtis just reading. Bah! They were always having grand tournaments there at Camelot, and very stirring and picturesque and ridiculous human bullfights they were too, but just a little wearisome to the practical mind. However, I was generally on hand for two reasons. A man must not hold himself aloof from the things which his friends in his community have at heart if he would be liked, especially as a statesman. Let me put this into some context. Sorry, for those of you who haven't read the book. Essentially, the Connecticut Yankee gets into a brawl and wakes up in King Arthur's court. And he is taken prisoner. He is told that he is a traitorous giant and is going to be executed. But for reasons, he knows that there's going to be an eclipse that day. And so when the eclipse happens, he basically tells them that if they don't let him go, he'll never allow, he's a great magician, and he'll never allow the sun to shine again if they don't let him go. So they let him go, and they make him basically the next person next to Arthur. John Pontorero, Merlin was an okay TV series about Arthur. Anthony Head was good in it. So anyway, so he's the boss, and he's running around trying to figure out, how to be a good politician. Both as businessman and statesman, I wanted to study the tournament and see if I couldn't invent an improvement on it. It reminds me to remark in passing that the very first official thing I did in my administration, sounds a little bit like Trump there, and it was on the very first day of it too, was to start a patent office. For I knew that a country without a patent office and good patent laws was just a crab and couldn't travel any way but sideways or backwards. Things ran along, tournament nearly every week, and now and then the boys used to want me to take a hand. I mean, Sir Lancelot and the rest. But I said I would by and by, no hurry yet, and too much government machinery to oil up and set to rights and start a-going. We had one tournament, which was continued from day to day during more than a week, and as many as 500 knights took part in it from first to last. They were weeks gathering. They came on horseback from everywhere, from the very ends of the country, and even from beyond the sea. And Manny brought ladies, and all brought squires and troops of servants. It was a most gaudy and gorgeous crowd as to costumery, and very characteristic of the country and the time in the way of high animal spirits, innocent indecencies of language, and happy-hearted indifference to morals. It was fight or look on all day and every day, and sing, gamble, dance, carouse half the night, every night. They had a most noble good time. You never saw such people. Those banks of beautiful ladies, shining in their barbaric splendors, would see a knight sprawl from his horse in the lists with a lance shaft the thickness of your ankle clean through him, and the blood spouting. Instead of fainting, they would clap their hands and crowd each other for a better view. Only sometimes one would dive into her handkerchief and look ostentatiously broken-hearted, and then you could lay 2 to 1 that there was a scandal there somewhere, and she was afraid that the public hadn't found it out. The noise at night would have been annoying to me ordinarily, but I didn't mind it in the present circumstances because it kept me from hearing the quacks detaching legs and arms from the day's cripples. They ruined an uncommon good old crosscut saw for me and broke the sawbuck too, but I let it pass. And as for my axe, well, I made up my mind that the next time I lent an axe to a surgeon, I would pick my century. I not only watched this tournament from day to day, but detailed an intelligent priest from my Department of Public Morals and Agriculture and ordered him to report it, for it was my purpose by and by, when I should have gotten the people along far enough to start a newspaper. The first thing you want in a new country is a patent office. Then work up your school system, and after that, out with your paper. A newspaper has its faults, and plenty of them, but no matter. It's hark from the tomb for a dead nation, and don't you forget it. You can't resurrect a dead nation without it. There isn't any way. I guess we're doomed. So I wanted to sample things and be finding out what sort of reporter material I might be able to rake together out of the 6th century when I should come to need it. Well, the priest did very well, considering. He got in all the details, and that is a good thing in a local item. You see, he had kept books for the undertaker department of his church when he was younger. And there, the money's in the details. The more details, the more swag. Bearers, mutes, candles, prayers, everything counts. And if the bereaved don't buy prayers enough, you mark up your candles with a forked pencil, and your bill shows up all right. And he had a good knack at getting in the complimentary thing here and there about a night that was likely to advertise. No, I mean a night that had influence. And he also had a neat gift of exaggeration, for in his time he had kept door for a pious hermit who lived in a sty and worked miracles. His name was probably Curtis Selby. Of course, this novice's report lacked hoop and crash and lurid description, and therefore wanted the true ring. But its antique wording was quaint and sweet and simple, and full of the fragrances and flavors of the time, and these little merits made up in a measure for its more important lacks. Here's an extract from it. Then Sir Brian de la Isle and Grummore Grummersome, knights of the castle, encountered with Sir Aglovale and Sir Tor smote down Sir Grummore Grummersome to the earth. Then came Sir Carados of the Dolorous Tower and Sir Turquin, knights of the castle, and there encountered with them Sir Percival de Gallus and Sir Lamorac de Gallus, that were two brethren, and there encountered Sir Percival with Sir Carados, and either brake their spears into their hands, and then Sir Turquin with Sir Lamorac, and either of them smote down other, horse and all, to the earth, and either parties rescued other, and horsed them again. And Sir Arnold and Sir Gautier, knights of the castle, encountered with Sir Brandiles and Sir Kay, and these 4 knights encountered mightily, and brake their spears into their hands. Then came Sir Pertolope from the castle, and there encountered with him Sir Lionel Richie. I couldn't help. I had to. And there Sir Pertolope the Green Knight smote down Sir Lionel, brother to Sir Lancelot. All of this was marked by noble heralds, who bear him best in their names. Then Sir Bleoborus brake his spear upon Sir Garrett, but of that stroke Sir Bleoborus fell to the earth. When Sir Galahudin saw that, he had Sir Garrett keep him, and Sir Garrett smote him to the earth. Then Sir Galahad got a spear to avenge his brother, and in the same wise Sir Garrett served him, and Sir Dinadan and his brother La Cote Maltail, and Sir Sagramore le Desirous, and Sir Doranus le Sauvage. All these he bare down with one spear. When King Aswisance of Ireland saw Sir Garrett fare so, he marvelled what he might be, that one time seemed green, and another time at his again coming he seemed blue, and thus at every course that he rode to and fro he changed his colour, kind of like our politicians, so that there might neither king nor knight have ready cognizance of him. Then Sir Agwisance, the King of Ireland, encountered with Sir Garrett, and there Sir Gareth smote him from his horse, saddle and all. And then came King Carados of Scotland, and Sir Gareth smote him down horse and man. And in the same wise he served King Uriens of the land of Gore. And then there came in Sir Bagdemagus. It's so fun to say that. I love saying that name, Bagdemagus. And Sir Gareth smote him down, horse and man, to the earth. And Bagdemagus' son, Melaganus, brake a spear upon Sir Gareth mightily and knightly. There's a joke there, but I'm going to keep it to myself. And then Sir Galahad, the noble prince, cried on high, Knight with the many colours, well hast thou jousted. Now make thee ready that I may just with thee. Sir Gareth heard him, and he gat a great spear, and so they encountered together, and there the prince brake his spear, but Sir Gareth smote him upon the left side of the helm, that he reeled here and there, and he had fallen down, had not his men recovered him. Truly, said King Arthur, that knight with the many colours is a good knight. Wherefore the king called unto him Sir Launcelot, and prayed him to encounter with that knight. Sir, said Launcelot, I may as well find in my heart for to forbear him at this time, for he hath had travail enough this day, and when a good knight doth so well upon some day, it is no good knight's part to let him of his worship, and namely, when he seeth the knight that hath done so great labour, for peradventure, said Launcelot, his quarrel is here this day, and peradventure he is best beloved with this lady of all that be here, for I see well he paineth himself, and enforceth him to do great deeds, and therefore, said Sir Launcelot, as for me, this day he shall have the honour, though it lay in my power to put it from him, it I would not. Wow. Kapla, Martin Molnikov. Don't get me started about Petuq politicians. Kapla. Glory to you and your house. You know, the Mort d'Arthur is best read in the original Klingon. Right now, I'm actually reading from the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, the chapter about the tournament. Maybe not the best chapter in the book, but I thought it would be one of the more fun ones. Well, there was an unpleasant little episode that day, for reasons of state, I struck out of my priest's report. You will have noticed that Gary was doing some great fighting in the tournament. When I say Gary, I mean Sir Gareth. Gary was my private pet name for him. It suggests that I had a deep affection for him, and that was the case. But it was a private pet name only, and never spoken aloud to anyone, much less to him. Being a noble, he would not have endured a familiarity like that from me. Well, to proceed. I sat in the private box set apart for me as the king's minister. While Sir Dinadan was waiting for his turn to enter the lists, he came in there and sat down and began to talk. For he was always making up to me, because I was a stranger and he liked to have a fresh market for his jokes, and most of them having reached that stage of wear where the teller has to do the laughing himself while the other person looks sick. I had always responded to his efforts as well as I could, and felt a very deep and real kindness for him too, for the reason that if by malice of fate he knew that one particular anecdote which I heard oftenest and had most hated and most loathed all my life, he had at least spared it me. It was one which I had heard attributed to every humorous person who had ever stood on American soil, from Columbus down to Artemus Ward. It was about a humorous lecturer who flooded an ignorant audience with the killingest jokes for an hour and never got a laugh. And then when he was leaving, some gray simpletons wrung him gratefully by the hand and said it had been the funniest thing they had ever heard, and it was all they could do to keep from laughing right out in the meeting. That anecdote never saw the day that it was worth the telling, and yet I had sat under the telling of it hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of times, and cried and cursed all the way through. Then who can hope to know what my feelings were to hear this armor-plated ass start in on it again in the murky twilight of tradition before the dawn of history, while even Lanctatius might be referred to as the late Lanctatius, and the Crusades wouldn't be born for 500 years yet. Just as he finished, the call boy came, so haw-hawing like a demon, He went rattling and clanking out like a crate of loose castings, and I knew nothing more. It was some minutes before I came to, and then I opened my eyes just in time to see Sir Garrett fetch him an awful welt, and I unconsciously come out with the prayer, I hope to gracious he's killed. But by ill luck, before I'd got half through the words, Sir Garrett crashed into Sir Sagramore le Desirous and sent him thundering over his horse's crupper, and Sir Sagramore caught my remark and thought I meant it for him. Well, whenever one of those people got a thing into his head, there was no getting it out again. I knew that, so I saved my breath and offered no explanations. As soon as Sir Sagramore got well, he noticed me that there was a little account settled between us, and he named a day, 3 or 4 years in the future, place of settlement, the lists where the offense had been given. I said I would be ready when he got back. You see, he was going for the Holy Grail. Yes, my friends, this was the first time I'd ever read those words. This was the context. The boys all took a flyer at the Holy Grail now and then. It was a several years cruise. They always put in the long absence snooping around in the most conscientious way, though none of them had any idea where the Holy Grail really was, and I don't think any of them actually expected to find it or would have known what to do with it if they had run across it. You see, it was just the Northwest Passage of that day, as you may say. That was all. Every year, expeditions went out Holy Grailing, and next year, relief expeditions went out to hunt for them. There was worlds of reputation in it, but no money. Why, they actually wanted me to put in. Well, I should smile. So, that is my little talk about the Grail. Not really as worthy of the subject as perhaps you would think, but I did want to take a segue on this. See, I said that there were 3 reasons why I decided I wanted to talk about the Grail. The first one was that the community had voted for it. The second one was that I wanted to break from politics, but I haven't told you yet what the third reason was. I started the YouTube journey for my own personal reasons, and then I wound up becoming part of this amazing community of people and creators, so varied, so different, so many different viewpoints, but nearly all of us, maybe not all, but nearly all of us are united in a love of the fantasy, the fantastic, the noble, the things that are actually higher than what we really see in our everyday lives. And I've watched a ton of movies with this group. I've prayed for people who I didn't even know when they passed away because it was grieving the people of the community. It was hurting the hearts of people that I had grown to love. And we haven't lost another YouTube creator, thank God. But we've lost a creator who I did not even remotely appreciate. In fact, I didn't even know about him, sadly, before I joined this group. I've got a new startup producing Grail mix. Yes! How did you know? Seraphim, I share the Templar bloodline. Oh, wow. Gosh, you are honoring me a lot more than I deserve. And maybe some of you know now where I'm going with this. I'm probably not doing a good job of tying the two together, but in my heart, yes, John Ponterero has already figured it out. Indeed, David Lynch, we lost him today. I knew absolutely nothing about him. I didn't even know he existed a year ago. I'd heard of the movies, but I never knew him. I never knew that these movies were made by the same person. I frankly thought when I was in my 20s that Twin Peaks was likely very silly because I had this terrible snooty prejudice back then that my tastes were superior to everyone else's, and if everybody loved something, it must be stupid. And fortunately, I've overcome that. I've learned that I'm not so bad, but I'm not so great either. And sometimes people love something because it's just wonderful. And I want to read this article because to me it ties, and yes, Connie Clear, yes. I can never remember how his last name is pronounced, but Bob Ecker has also passed away. And I pray that he rests in peace. David Lynch was Los Angeles, according to this article. To me, it's especially relevant. I don't know if they'll mention it. I haven't read this article yet. I'm going to be sharing it with you for the first time, so I'm hoping it's good. But in my heart and in my mind, well, I'll read the article and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking, if you haven't already figured it out. A longtime LA resident, the late filmmaker incisively chronicled the city and its psychic pull in his work. In the harrowing early days of the pandemic, filmmaker David Lynch sat inside his home during lockdown like everyone else, wondering what might happen. While hunkering down in his Hollywood Hills home, his white coif grew long, he grew out a scraggly beard, and he picked up an unusual hobby, becoming an impromptu weatherman for the city of Los Angeles. Every morning, Lynch delivered a brief and charming weather report, which he uploaded to YouTube. Often wearing shades with the blistery bright sunlight faintly framing a palm tree just outside of his window, Lynch reported on slight breezes, occasional rain showers, and temperamental fluctuations. Here we see him with Kyle MacLachlan. They are attending the premiere of Showtime's Twin Peaks at the theater at Ace Hotel, May 19, 2017 in LA. His last forecast was on December 16 of 2022. Today, 4 days shy of his birthday, it was announced that he has died at the age of 78. The cause of death has not been disclosed, though Lynch has recently revealed that he had been diagnosed with emphysema and had to drastically curtail his outings due to his health. While LA weather reports aren't exactly hard to come by, Lynch's dispatches were a delightful addition to the medium because of his wide-eyed idiosyncrasies, interjecting song recommendations from artists like Mazzy Star and Bob Dylan. He had a distinctly cheery way of speaking, which when I interviewed him years ago, struck me as the way a soda jerk might have slung shakes at drugstores back in the 50s, or as his friend and collaborator Kyle MacLachlan lovingly described it, a great plains honk of a voice. In one report from April 2022, for instance, Lynch exclaimed, "Looks like we're going to be wall to wall, beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way." He signed off every report with a chipper salute or thumbs up he held just a little too long, as well as a positive affirmation. "Everyone, have a great day." And here he is, walking the red carpet during the 12th Rome Film Festival on November 4 of 2017. And by God, I still think he looks just like deleted scenes. Gorilla Censored Thoughts, they said he was Los Angeles. How dare they insult him like that after he dies? I'm going somewhere with this. I promise. Maybe. Lynch's weather reports attracted a dedicated following in themselves, becoming such a part of the fabric of LA, his adopted home for many years, and a lifelong fascination of his he often transmuted on film, that his forecasts were later broadcast on NPR affiliate KCRW. But before he was the city's de facto weather person, he was known for chronicling the stories of wayward characters attempting to live out wild dreams that distorted into nightmares in ways both wickedly funny and disturbing in cult films like Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, and Wild at Heart. Sadly, I've only seen Blue Velvet. It was wonderful, but also terrible. Terrible in that it really delves into that dark place in our hearts. In addition to his film Au revoir, or however that's pronounced, Lynch was a prolific visual artist, a musician, a bona fide style god, and a fervent practitioner of transcendental meditation. But he has another crucial legacy. He was perhaps one of the most unique chroniclers of the city of LA and its singular pull on film and out in the world. And here he is posing for a photograph at his studio, July 2005. In his movies, he didn't opt for gleefully destroying LA the way disaster flicks tend to do. He wasn't uncritical of the city's deep imperfections either, and instead applied rigor and transformative artistry to the way he addressed well-trod subjects, especially the Hollywood machine. That incisiveness stemmed from his own love of the dream that LA signifies, which he often spoke about in interviews. Lynch seemed awestruck that he got to make use of the sound stages in the area, to be embedded with a place the peculiarities and charms of which manage to seep into your psyche, like the smell of night jasmine wafting through the air on balmy summer nights, as he once described. In this way, David Lynch just didn't love LA, he was LA. Although Lynch would be heaped with cinephile accolades over his long career, he always described himself succinctly as such: Missoula, Montana, Eagle Scout. Born on January 20 of 1946, making him about 10 years younger than my dad. In a suburban enclave of Missoula, Lynch moved to Philadelphia in the mid-60s, a formative time that began to shape his filmmaking sensibilities. But after decamping to LA in the 70s with his family to start studying at the American Film Institute's AFI Conservatory, he found the place he'd call home for the next 5 decades. The city served as a generative fount of inspiration, especially within the mood-drenched streets winding through canyons and concrete. In his memoir, Catching the Big Fish, he wrote that when he stepped out of his tiny apartment on San Vicente Boulevard, he saw this light, and it thrilled my soul. Here he is, much younger, well, maybe not much handsomer, but handsomer, March 1984. Here he is with Dennis Hopper, attending the Film Critics Award luncheon on January 29 of 87. This fascination with LA environs emerged in many of Lynch's later films, specifically in the 1997 neo-noir gem Lost Highway, with its high-octane desert chases. It crops up in 2001's Mulholland Drive, a nod to the eponymously named thoroughfare running across the Hollywood Hills in San Fernando Valley. The film unfurls a story of the haunting of a young actress who comes to L.A. to make it and slowly loses her sense of self after encountering her doppelganger. Do you remember your doppelganger? And Inland Empire, a 2006 experimental oddity, he directed about a doomed Hollywood production that will also make you never see rabbits the same way again. I haven't seen it, so... Hey, look at the bones! It makes use of Hollywood Boulevard as the ultimate symbol of how dreams can live on a razor's edge, capable of descending sharply into decay. That film also prompted him to create one of the more memorably bizarre for your consideration stunts the city of LA has ever seen. Lynch thought that Laura Dern, a frequent collaborator of his who'd starred in Inland Empire, should be nominated for an Academy Award for her performance in that film. But instead of taking out billboards lining the Sunset Strip like Oscar voters, or asking Oscar voters to consider her for a nomination, Lynch opted for something else that might get their attention. He sat in a director's chair on the corner of Hollywood and La Brea, toting a massive sign praising Dern while accompanied by a cow named Georgia, and chatting with anyone who happened to pass by. Well, I don't have any money, he said at the time, and I also feel that the Academy members must be sick of seeing ad after ad after ad costing a fortune with no one really paying attention. Honestly, I'm out here with a cow and meeting the greatest bunch of people. Here's a close-up of him looking through a Panavision Panaflex movie camera as he directs Wild at Heart. By plucking out the eerie and dark realities undulating just beneath the surface of the American dream, Lynch's work sparked an adjective, Lynchian, that's come to define a specific strain of experimental and psychological horror. But that oft-overused term often fails to acknowledge what's really at the heart of Lynch's films. Even his most confounding works were punctuated by a sense of genuine optimism and wonder. It's a feeling that might be familiar to any LA resident who's been asked by someone how they could ever possibly live in a city as maligned, sprawling, tenuous, and prone to devastating ecological disaster as LA. We've all had a moment, whether it's come from gazing upon the glittering city from a vista, by admiring an errant strand of bougainvillea creeping on a fence, or seeing how the city's residents look after one another in moments of crisis. We can't believe how lucky we are to be even a minuscule part of this remarkable slice of the universe. Lynch innately understood this too. Once when he asked why he was fond of LA, Lynch replied that he admired the intense light and the idea that it took a lot longer to appreciate LA than a lot of cities because it's so spread out and every area has its own mood. But the omnipresence of LA's own layered histories enchanted him the most. What I really like about it is, from time to time, if you drive around, especially at night, you can get a little gust of wind of the great days of the silver screen. That was written, and I think beautifully written, by Paula Mejia, Colombian-American writer and editor from Houston, Texas. So I hadn't read it, but just the title of it made me feel like in this time with the city burning, with everyone talking politics, everybody pointing fingers at each other, I thought that there's something symbolic and beautiful and sad here. I'm not trying to say that Hollywood's passing away necessarily. I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm not trying to say that God's judging anybody or anything, but it just, I see a Lynchian symbolism about what's going on, about the fact that he passes at this particular time. And I don't have it in my heart to say this politician is good, that politician's bad, this politician's incompetent, that politician's got the right idea. This transcends politics. This is the stuff of the human heart. It's people who have dreams and horrors, and somehow they mix together. And most of us just live our lives, and sometimes we feel the feeling, and then we just kill it, quash it, go back to work, do our mundane jobs, kind of die inside just a little more every day. We may have seen the Grail when we were 2, 3, 4, 5, saw that shining light of LA, and now it's gone. We think it's, we just have this cynical belief that all it was a lie. All it was a delusion. It was a will-o'-the-wisp, something just meant to lead us into a swamp, and we slip into the muck and die. Lynch was above that. My words may not be as eloquent as this lady's, but I hope they still resonate. Lynch was above that. He saw the bad in us. He saw the good in us. He saw the good and the bad in himself. And he carried out at least a part of his dream. He made films and he made TV shows that moved us. Didn't matter whether we were Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. None of that mattered. None of it. What mattered was an FBI agent came in to be a Boy Scout and find the murderer and solve the crime that had happened to the fair maiden that was found dead in the river. What mattered was a small town sheriff who actually had big city skills, but would rather take care of people that were of his tribe and his community. And people made tragic mistakes, made deals with the devil, lost their minds, and then made efforts, maybe futile, but still beautiful, to redeem themselves. All right. Let's get back to the chat, and then I'll end this. I'm not 100% sure how I want to end this, because I don't know if it moves you guys the same way it moves me. Maybe I'm just talking to myself here. But let's see what's going on in the chat. John Ponerero, that was a wild flick. I enjoyed Inland Empire. Coda's Fact Search. God bless you, sir. I hope you have been doing well. Work has been kicking my butt. But Coda's Fact, I hope you're having a good day and that your night continues to get better. And it will. It surely will. Please send some prayers up for Coda's Fact Search and his school that he teaches at. I hope it's okay that I share that, sir. There's some stuff going on, so please keep that school and please keep Codis in your thoughts, prayers, whatever your beliefs are. Send the positive things his way, please. He teaches elementary. He teaches very well. I hope it's okay that I share this, sir, but I think you got Teacher of the Month. I hope I'm correct. I think you've gotten Teacher of the Month at least twice, or maybe Teacher of the Year. Sometimes in my tiredness, I can't really remember what the hell's going on. Okay, so I think I know how I want to end this. I am going to do a little bit with my typical pointless things that Curtis has found on Twitter. And I'll go ahead and share one. That's at the confirmation hearings. Make of that whatever you want. And yes, you're very welcome. And I just love this puppy. It looks like a little tiny baby Cassie. Oh, look at the tail. This, I'm not even sure this is accurate, but if it is, it's creepy as heck. Angela Lansbury once recalled her daughter falling under the spell of a Hollywood deadbeat who would pick her up from the school and get her to steal money and food from her parents for him. Worried, Lansbury moved the entire family to Ireland. The deadbeat was Charles Manson. This pregnant lady is simply adorable. I don't know if you can see it, but she's basically got a weird top that's covering her, and she has her belly worked out to be a face and is doing a sexy dance for her husband. Lucky bastard. I don't envy him even a little bit. In memory of Carl Weathers, 14 January 1948 to February 2, 2024, Dylan Carl Weathers. I'm old enough to remember when we actually had trusted news sources, and some of you may not be old enough to remember these. The bat child found in the cave, I married Bigfoot, the father of my child, the first photos of heaven, Hillary Clinton adopts alien baby. I miss when we could trust the media. Michael Caine first saw Shakira Bakshi on television in a coffee ad back in 1971, the year I was born. They have now been married for over 52 years. I think that is amazing. Anyone that can stay married that long, and especially in freaking Hollywood, God bless those people. And did you know that penguins consider humans as their own kind? They're the only thing walking on two legs in Antarctica. When they see a person, they mistake them for a fellow penguin, a lost companion. Sometimes they'll hold the equipment and they just look after them in curiosity, thinking that they're long lost members of the tribe. They have unique cries to call to each other. They have a unique courting thing where they put little pebbles on a nest so that the female can take care of the baby or the egg. So I just thought I would lighten your hearts with penguins. They sleep thousands of times a day for 4 seconds at a time. This fragmented sleep evidently doesn't affect them. So there you go. Lily Tang Williams. I don't know if you remember her. She ran for, I want to say, Congress. And my man RFK recognized her and made her go viral. She still lost. But if you have the chance to listen to her just trouncing her opposition and basically spelling out the truth of what's going on in our government, it's well worth your time. She's wanting to go on Joe Rogan, sit down for 3 hours so she can effectively tell her story of surviving Mao Zedong and spreading freedom messages in the world. And here's Joe Rogan saying she's a badass woman. I'm hoping that means he'll interview her. I think that would be fantastic. Here we have the majestic piebald deer. Look at that thing. Isn't it gorgeous? Okay. I'm going to try the audio.
It was cool, you know.
Looking through old MTV footage, Pauly Shore found some of the happier times out there in LA overlooking the hills. Thought he'd bring some lightness and silliness to the darkness. Stay strong in LA.
What's happening, buddies? Did you guys have a fun time with me, Pauly Shore? It was cool, you know, I'm totally Pauly, because that's where we're chilling. In California. Okay. Sorry, I got excited. Okay. It's the weekend, you know. And but these next days and months and stuff, we're gonna be checking out all of California. People's gonna be so cool. You know, just chill with me. Let me get a hug. Okay. High five. Okay, cool. Okay. But right now it's Friday night, and I wanted, well, not Friday night. It's like the afternoon. It's 4:30. You know. Sorry. But the party starts. You know when it starts? Like, great. It starts. You know, like right now. Because I'm the weasel. Cool. Okay, guys, see you later.
Okay, I know it was weird, but I thought it was kind of cute and sweet too. This church building survived the California fire. I'm almost half afraid this is Photoshop or something, but just in case, since there's no community notes, I'm going to hope and assume that it's real. I think that's awesome and amazing. Codis Fact Search, best bumper sticker these days. My spirit animal has rabies. Yeah, wanted to share this cat. It's just hanging around upside down. Somebody's got Photoshop farts coming out of it. Yeah, okay. The critical drinker, frickin' based Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins says his MCU role as Odin was pointless acting. They put me in armor, shoved a beard on me, sit on the throne, shout a bit. If you're sitting in front of a green screen, it's pointless acting. Only the old school people know who fell here. Right on, right on. And then the last pointless thing that Curtis will share on Twitter, Ringo Starr. God bless David Lynch. Peace and love to all his family. Peace and love from Ringo. Okay. Gorilla Censored Thought is about to tell ChatGPT to take a toaster bath. You know, I've had mixed results from ChatGPT. I sure have. So I'm hesitating because there's something I kind of want to do, but I don't know if it's awesome or just stupid. So you know what? I'm going to, you guys have made the choice for me. I am going to do something very silly next week on Tuesday instead of doing it here. Because I want to do something, but I don't know if it would be poignant and honoring, or if it would just be kind of stupid and sad. But looking at the poll, I am seeing that 38% of you want me to talk about the life and passing of David Lynch on Tuesday. 25% of you wanted me to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian war negotiations. And then they're tied at 19% for last was comparing and contrasting the LA fires with the Georgia hurricane and media lies left and right. So we will talk more about David Lynch on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I want to come up with a fitting tribute to the guy. So hail, Dad Man Walking. Come on, what's not to love about Georgia and Louisiana? Oh, yeah, you have a point. It was kind of a confusing poll, wasn't it? And welcome, Dad Man Walking. And anyone that hasn't gone to this gentleman's channel or his spouse's wonderful channel, please check these people out. They're wonderful. They're positive. They're not going to drown you with politics. They're going to shower you with gaming, positivity, and football. So I am going to call it a stream, unless somebody has something that they wanted to share about the Grail. Rest in peace, David Lynch. I hope we all get to have a sight of the Grail before the end. And if not, I hope we get to have a sight of it in the next life. I'm going to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Kapla to Gorilla Censored Thoughts. Thank you very much for your kindness, your support, your help. The intro that you made for me. Moira Kitty, meow meow. hail to thee. You and Gorilla Sensor Thoughts both made a wonderful video about the Israeli-Palestinian circumstances. We pray for peace for everybody. I don't have any belief that it'll happen. I'm sorry, but we can still pray. Those of you who have more faith than me, lend me some of yours. John Ponterero is, in fact, one of the people whose faith I lean on. Thank you for your kindness, your advice, your prayers, the links that you send. Seraphim, thank you for your support, for being a beautiful person and a kind and seraphic soul. I'll be in my bunk. Lady Mist, thank you. Also, you have given me a great idea as well. I should have put that one into the thing, but I'm going to try to fit that in as well. Thank you for your kindness, your comments, the moderations that you do. You and Connie Cleary and Lady V are some of the great mods out there. You keep the bad people away. Big Al Presents, thank you very much for your comments. You didn't know that you would be contributing mightily to a political podcast because your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. Sashi, the man from the future. You know, I should know this, but I wonder, what's the Oriental version of the Holy Grail? I need to research that. I kind of feel like an ignorant fool now because I don't really know what it would be. Tim. Hail. There are some who call him Tim. Connie Cleary, welcome, welcome. Hail to thee. 3 of the great mods. Enigma Severus. I know I probably didn't do it justice. I'm sure C.S. Lewis would have done profoundly better, but I hope you at least found it mildly entertaining, if not informative. 1, 2, 5, 3, 7. You know what nobody said in this stream, and it needs to be said before it's over? She turned me into a newt. I got better. Mark Malnikov. The Morch to Arthur is better in the original Klingon. And Codus Fact Search. Thank you for your friendship, for all the many things, the information that you share, the strength of your spirit. We need people like you in the days that are coming ahead. And Dad Man Walking. Howdy, howdy. Oh, hey, and Lady V is here in her other incarnation. Lady V, she's Lady V-licious. And Gorilla Sense Thoughts, yes, thank you very much. Be sure to get a bot account up by next Tuesday to fortify the vote. Right on. All right, so Saturday, I will be doing a double feature, a watch party for Akira and The Last Unicorn. So, Lady Mist, I know you wanted to see that. Be sure and set your alarm. Maybe whoever hasn't seen it, let me know what time is best for you. I was thinking about playing Akira first and then Last Unicorn second because I wanted to give y'all a chance to see it. But I don't know if my spiel really works for today. I'll try to tailor it to the moment. It's been said, life is pain. Anyone telling you otherwise is trying to sell you something. And most of the time I'm trying to sell you on the idea that liberty is better than freedom, tyranny Or liberty is better than freedom. Liberty is better than freedom. Liberty is better than tyranny, and freedom is better than slavery. You're in fact smart enough to run your own life. Today, it's not so much that I don't want to sell you on that idea as I also want to remind you of the pain, that the pain of life is very much mixed with the beauty of it. The Grail, it was a image, it was a talisman of the sublime, of the divine, the God or gods that are above us, but it was also mixed with a lot of pain. The pain of Christ on the cross and his blood being drained into it. The pain of the dead as they were thrown into the cauldron of Kuraner. The pain of the knight as he's going on this quest that was basically hopeless. But I want to believe. I can't prove it. I don't have facts to back it up. I want to believe that the pain is worth it. I don't know that there's a grail at the end. I don't know what's at the end. But you've got the smiles of your family, the laughter of your friends, the wagging tail of a dog. Hopefully that's enough. I don't know. But no, you may in fact be going mad like David Lynch. Life's sick, so screw it. You may be going mad. David Lynch had characters that went mad. But I like to think that we are the sane ones in a world gone mad. I hope to see all or several of you in one of the later streams. I know several people have wonderful streams going on tonight. Have a wonderful evening. I hope to see also some of you Saturday.